Oh, Ellen, what did your parents send you this time? I noticed that you've been getting some kind of package almost every day, so I was starting to wonder what you could possibly need so often. Do they supply you with daily goods or something?
My parents don't supply us with anything, as a matter of fact. Where did you even get that idea from?
Oh, I just thought that maybe you were too poor to afford your own food, and that was why they send you a care package every day or something like that.
Not that it's anything that should concern you, but those packages are in return for a donation we made previously. In other words, they're all gifts that we receive as a courtesy. I know that you live just across the street from us, but how closely are you watching our front door to know how often we've been getting packages? You must have a lot of time on your hands to keep watch like that.
What? Are you implying that I have nothing better to do? You've got to be kidding me. My husband is a doctor, and as his wife, I have a very busy schedule. I'm sure you wouldn't understand all the committees I have to be part of, or the number of engagements I have to attend on his behalf. That's why I don't have the time to deal with people of your status. You have no grasp of what it means to have decent moral standards.
What do you mean you don't have the time? You're the one who messaged me in the first place, and for something of no importance whatsoever.
Oh, be quiet. You just keep trying to find some fault with everything I say. Do you have any idea how irritating that is? That's what I mean about people like you having no decency.
Yes, I've already heard that more than enough times. You can keep insulting me all you want because it's all nonsense to me. However, I'd appreciate it if you would stop spreading false rumors about our financial situation, since I don't want our children to get the wrong idea. Whatever it is that you have against me, it shouldn't have to affect the children's relationship, don't you think?
But it's all true, isn't it? For one, your husband is always at home. I've never seen him leave the house in the morning, or even look like he was on his way to the office at any time during the day. But that's because he's unemployed, right? So, what is it like to have a husband who doesn't earn anything to support his family? It's a situation that I can hardly imagine for myself, so I'd like to know how you're able to even deal with it.
Don't be so sarcastic. Do you have any idea how unpleasant you sound making all of these assumptions? Again, it's nothing that should really concern you, but if you really must know, my husband doesn't work full-time. But that doesn't mean that he's unemployed. And he doesn't go into the office because he's able to work from home. But on the other hand, he's always available to take care of the kids and manage the household, so this arrangement fits perfectly with our current lifestyle. Anyways, what business do you have sticking your nose in our personal matters? Your meddling is more a nuisance than anything. And in fact, it's more than just your nose that you're sticking into our business. More like you're jumping right into our personal matters where you don't even belong.
You've got quite the mouth, especially for someone with no money. I've said this before, but that's what I mean by people like you not having any moral standards. You don't even know what's appropriate to say or not to people of my status. But I guess I can't just blame you since you probably don't know any better, especially because your husband is the way he is.
And what exactly do you mean by that?
It just doesn't make any sense that your husband should be at home all day. Don't you even know that men are supposed to work outside the home to earn a living for their family? But your husband is the complete opposite. I bet he's just an unemployed loser.
He's not a loser, nor is he unemployed. Who do you think you are anyways, criticizing my husband like that?
It's okay, I understand, so I completely sympathize with the way you are too, Helen.
I have no idea what you're trying to imply. But whatever it might be, I'm tired of listening to you continuously badmouth my family. It has nothing to do with you, so just stop, okay? And everything that you're saying is based on nothing but assumptions. So if you don't stop immediately, I'll just have to sue you for defamation.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. It's not like you have the money to file a lawsuit anyway. And you don't have to be ashamed about admitting the truth. I'm sure that there are special assistance programs for people like you, so you can get help. You know that what I'm saying is true, so I don't even know why you're getting so worked up over it. But you must be so disappointed in your husband. making you work full-time so he can lay at home doing nothing all day. I bet this wasn't the lifestyle you expected to have when you got married. Isn't that right? I definitely wouldn't be able to deal with that kind of lifestyle if I were in your position.
Have you been listening to what I said? My husband just works from home, so he's obviously not unemployed, and he does not lay around doing nothing all day. And I told you that this arrangement fits our lifestyle perfectly. We're very happy with the way things worked out. The way I see it, you just have way too much time on your hands to be so concerned about other people's personal situations. Don't you have anything better to do?
Yes, and so what if I have extra time on my hands? My husband is a hard-working doctor, so I'm allowed to take it easy during the day. Unlike you, we actually have the means for me to be at home full-time, so I don't even need to work. As a matter of fact, why did you even decide to marry the kind of man who's unable to provide for his family? I, for one, would never have made that kind of mistake. Like I said, my husband is a doctor who's much more distinguished than your stay-at-home husband.
Are you done comparing our husbands to one another yet? In case you haven't noticed, women are able to earn just as much as men these days, so it makes no difference whether it's the man or the woman who works outside the home or who the main breadwinner is.
But if you're still poor, it makes all the difference. Which in your case is probably because your husband doesn't work. And to be honest, I'd rather not waste my time socializing with poor people. As a matter of fact, it'll look bad for my image to even be seen with people who aren't as well off as myself. So I hope you'll stop coming to our mom lunches from now on, okay? And actually, it would be best if you just stopped showing up to any of our gatherings from now on.
You have some nerve acting like that, especially since you just moved to this neighborhood just a few months ago. You make it seem like this neighborhood is under your control already. But who made you the boss to begin with?
No one made me the boss. But I guess it's only natural for me to be in this position. I mean, status-wise, I am better off than anyone else in our mom group. It goes without saying, but I'm pretty certain that my husband makes the most money out of all our husbands. So that means my husband is at the top, and by default, that puts me in the top position as well.
This isn't a competition about who's in the top position. Don't be so immature. The bottom line is that we're all moms with children who are the same age. Why should there be any kind of rank about who's better than the rest? Now, you can keep bragging about your husband being a doctor to whoever will give you the time, but you're starting to sound like a broken record, just so you know. I doubt there's anyone in our mom group who doesn't know about your husband's occupation. I mean, he has a very respectable job, but the way you've targeted me and a few other moms as being poorer and excluded us from the lunch gatherings is nothing but rude. Aren't you at least ashamed of yourself for acting like this?
Why should I feel ashamed?
You really don't think there's anything wrong with your behavior?
I'm just saying that poor people like you don't have the same financial means as someone like me. But judging by the way you're getting so defensive about it, must mean that I'm right. If it weren't the truth, then I shouldn't even bother you this much, and you should just be able to let it go as simple nonsense.
I'm just pointing it out to you because your comments are extremely insulting, regardless of whether there's any truth to them or not. Why don't you give some consideration to the other moms you've targeted? I heard that you ordered the rest of the group to ignore the poor moms if they happen to run into each other and to block their contacts.
What? How do you know about any of that?
A few of the moms have been coming to me recently about their concerns, and they're worried about the kind of influence it'll have on their children. So we're all in agreement that we want you to stop acting this way.
I can't believe that there was anyone left who'd go blabbing to you. I wonder who it could be. I was pretty certain that I'd singled out the moms who I thought would go and betray me like that. Well, in that case, I'll just tell everyone in the group that they should start ignoring you as well. This should show you that you've messed with the wrong woman. You'll see that they'll all listen to what I tell them. There's nothing good that'll come out of socializing with the poor anyways.
That's enough already. You're being such a bad role model for our children. They shouldn't have to be dragged into the nonsense drama between adults.
What are you talking about? All of this is not as irrelevant to them as you think. You know that our children will eventually come face to face with our differences in wealth. What's wrong with teaching them about the inequality in society from an early age? They'll be better adjusted if they're already aware of where they stand.
What differences? They're still too young to understand that kind of thing, nor should they have to at this age. There's just no point in trying to make you understand otherwise, is there?
Oh, I almost forgot. I'm planning to have a small gathering with some of the moms tomorrow at my house. Did you want to join us, perhaps?
Not at all. I'll be at work, so I won't have the time to begin with.
Oh, that's right. I should have known not to even bother asking. People like you can't afford to miss work for something like this, right? Especially if you want to be able to keep food on the table. I should have thought about your situation before I asked, but I've never had to decide between missing work or not having enough food to eat, so it just never crossed my mind. I'm so sorry about that. But I guess that's just one of the differences between a family that has money or not.
Go ahead and keep saying whatever you want.
Well, it's probably a good thing that you won't be able to attend anyways. Even if you did join us, you'll probably feel a bit out of place, to be honest. The rest of us are all doctors' wives, so you're probably not used to socializing with our kind of people.
Well, that's good to know. And you're right, it doesn't seem like I'll fit in with the likes of you.
You see, and that's because there won't be anyone here who's unclassy like you. I guess it just comes with the status of being poor, unfortunately.
I already said that I wasn't going, so you don't have to worry about that. I told you that I have to work, right?
Well, it's not like I invited you in the first place anyways. Poor, unclassy people like you aren't welcome inside my home. So consider it a good thing that you have to work tomorrow. Anyways, tomorrow's gathering is for doctors' wives only, so it's not your place to make a presence to begin with.
Oh, really? Well, what if I told you that I'm the director of the local hospital?
What do you mean?
I've really had enough of your ridiculous remarks. Someone really needs to put you in your place, so let me take that honor right now.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Your husband was recently assigned to our hospital, but having such a clueless woman like you as his wife is quite the unfortunate circumstance.
There's no way you're the head of his hospital. Why would you make something like that up? Do you actually think I'd believe such an obvious lie? Don't be so stupid.
I'm pretty sure that I'm not stupid by any normal standards. I mean, I've had my medical degree for more than 10 years now.
What? You? A doctor? There's no way that you're actually a doctor. You're a woman!
Being a woman has nothing to do with my occupation. Besides, there's just as many female doctors as male doctors now, especially in this day and age. What sort of male-dominated generation are you even thinking about?
Well, of course I know that female doctors exist, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what you're saying is obviously a lie. You're just trying to make me look foolish. It's just impossible that you're the hospital director.
Fine, if that's what you want to think, then go ahead. But you better hope that you're right about this being a lie, as you say.
Well, I'm right, aren't I?
Well, you've certainly had your say about me being poor and indecent and what have you. But it's clear that you have absolutely no respect for anyone who doesn't fit your standard of what's acceptable. And even though it's obvious that I'm older than you, you've been nothing but rude from the very beginning, acting as if you're so much better. So if that's the kind of person that you consider acceptable and having moral standards, then I suppose you can say that I definitely don't fit that model.
Wait, so it's true that you're the hospital director, which means that you're my husband's boss.
Oh, so you're finally ready to accept the truth about the situation. Perhaps you're ready to show some respect as well then. Your previous remarks have had zero level of intelligence, so I was worried that you weren't able to understand what I was saying. And in fact, I was even starting to wonder if I was speaking a foreign language to you.
Wait, so let me get this straight. Ellen, you're really the director of the hospital that my husband works for. I still can't believe it.
That's fine. I don't actually need you to believe me. However, I hope you know that we'll be taking whatever measures we deem appropriate, so it won't really matter what you think.
What are you talking about? What do you mean by appropriate measures?
I'm sure you'll see exactly what I mean sooner or later. By the way, remember how you insulted my husband for being at home all the time? But he told me something pretty interesting recently, and the only reason he noticed this was because he was at home during the day.
What did he say?
Well, he spotted you during the day, on more than one occasion actually, walking hand in hand with a man who isn't your husband. And that you two seemed overly affectionate with one another?
What? Are you trying to accuse me of something?
As a matter of fact, he said the two of you went into your house together in the middle of the day when your husband was obviously at work. It's not that hard to put two and two together to figure out what you're up to.
That's just a lie. Your husband has no idea what he's talking about. I bet he doesn't even have any proof.
Yes, you might be right that he doesn't have any proof, but I could still mention it to your husband regardless, right? What do you think he'll say when he finds out what you've been up to while he's working?
You wouldn't dare.
Well, we do live across the street from one another, so call it a neighborly courtesy in that case. If my husband did in fact misinterpret what he saw, then that means that you and some unknown man were entering your house together in the middle of the day. I think your husband has the right to know if there was some stranger going into his house, especially without his knowledge. And as luck would have it, I'm going to see your husband in a conference later, so I'll just let him know about it then, okay?
No, you can't do that. You'll end up ruining everything for me if you tell my husband.
Is there going to be some kind of problem if I tell him my concerns? If, as you say, this is all just a misunderstanding and that nothing intimate is going on between you and that man, then there should be nothing to be worried about, right?
Yes, but I'm saying that there's going to be a big problem. If my husband and I end up getting divorced, I am going to lose everything. Do you really want to see me suffer that much?
Oh, I see. So you're aware that what you're involved in could lead to divorce.
Oh, be quiet. And fine, I won't question you about being the hospital director anymore. I get it now. So what you want to say is that you're more than wealthy enough, right? That's fine. So we can just leave everything at that now. In fact, why don't you let me borrow some money if you're as wealthy as you say you are?
You're being completely illogical. So perhaps you should stop talking before you dig yourself into an even deeper hole. And you can call it a gathering for mom friends or what have you, but separating us based on whether we have doctor husbands or not seems pretty distasteful. The rest of the moms know that I'm the hospital director, but it's never been much of a factor in the way we socialize with one another. But I guess they've just never had the opportunity to say anything about it in front of you, though, because of your overbearing presence whenever we get together.
That's a pretty important piece of information that you decided to keep from me. Someone should have said something about it. I can't believe that I was the only one who didn't know. I mean, I definitely would have acted differently towards you if I had known what kind of position you held.
So you would completely change your attitude based on the other person's social or professional status. That seems like a pretty terrible thing to do. Didn't you learn that you should treat everyone equally and with respect? I don't even want to imagine the way you would have treated me if I actually were poor. I bet you were about to stoop down to become an even more reprehensible person in that case. It's a good thing you were able to realize your mistake before that happened, though. Why not take this opportunity to reevaluate the kind of person you are from the beginning?
I said I was sorry. Like you said, it was all just a small mistake. I realized that I was completely wrong, so please do me a favor and don't mention any of this to my husband. I promise that I won't make any more remarks like that from now on.
Well, let me ask you something then. Do you want to avoid getting divorced because you actually love your husband? Or is it because of the status that you get as a doctor's wife by staying married to him?
Why should that be any of your business? I just don't want to get divorced, okay? I'm not the kind of woman that's going to give up and lose everything over something like this.
You seem pretty desperate to redeem yourself, but don't you think that you brought this all onto yourself? You take advantage of your husband and friends only for their statuses, so what did you expect? It only shows that you're completely empty on the inside, and only get satisfaction from falsely convincing others that you actually have any self-worth.
How could you say such a terrible thing? You're just saying that to hurt my feelings.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm just being honest. Anyways, someone like you who's all for show but with no substance should probably try earning a living for themselves at least. This is all because you rely on your husband's position to keep face in the first place.
What do you mean that I'm all for show? That's not true. And I don't want to work. Please, just let this all go. I really don't want to get a divorce. And I absolutely don't want to start working.
Wait, but the way you're desperately trying to argue against what I'm saying only means that it's all true, right? That's why everything I'm saying bothers you so much, right? You even said so yourself.
That's not true. I never said that. And besides, I'm not as empty-headed as you claim.
It's gotten to the point that you keep trying to argue with the same ridiculous excuse. You must be feeling quite miserable about yourself. Anyways, if you don't want me to disclose everything to your husband, maybe you should confess to him directly. And by the way, I think it's pretty clear now which of us is the one with no moral standards, don't you think? But if it's still unclear to you, why don't we go and ask your husband what he thinks? After long contemplation, Hannah ended up telling the whole story to her husband herself. I guess that in the end, she was able to convince herself that it was better that he found out the truth from her instead of from his boss. As expected, her husband was absolutely furious and forced her to accompany him to apologize to Ellen in person, especially since Ellen was the director of the hospital where he worked and lived right across the street from them. However, that wasn't the end of this ordeal. Her husband also found out that Hannah had been having an affair while he was at work, so he filed for divorce immediately. She didn't even try to argue herself out of the situation this time, perhaps because she realized that there would be no point. They ended up getting a divorce by agreement, but she was kicked out of their house shortly after. Apparently, they're still fighting over the custody of their son, but things aren't looking too great for her. And it didn't take long for the rumors to get around amongst her former mom friends, and soon she was starting to feel completely out of place. She was now the one being ignored and left out from the social gatherings. In the end, she decided to move out of state, cutting all ties with her previous lifestyle and hoping for a new start. However, it wasn't going to be all that easy to get away from what she'd done. She was ordered to pay a large settlement to her husband because of her infidelity, but with no means to make that payment, it seems like she's desperately looking for work now. Unfortunately for her, she lost her status as a doctor's wife, a label that she was at one time so proud of. In addition, she lost her mansion, her kind husband, and her beautiful son all at the same time. Left with nothing that even resembled her former life, she finally realized what a huge mistake she'd made. But at much too late a time to even try to redeem herself. She can now only dream about what she once had and long for the carefree lifestyle she once led. But in reality, she must drag herself to the unemployment office every day hoping to find a job. It's funny, but that's just the way karma works, I suppose. So, what did you think? It makes me wonder just how many women in this world desperately try and make themselves look superior by looking down on others in a condescending way. In this case, it turned out that Hannah didn't even stand in the same playing field as Ellen from the beginning, so she just ended up making an even bigger fool of herself.